Welcome to the Meredith Show. I am thrilled and honored to have a treat for you today because my friend Gwen Bernardo is going to share her story, as we always do here on the Meredith Show, of courage, how she overcame massive injury and, let's be honest, some trauma with a secret weapon that you will learn about. And I am also excited to share how she shined through that adversity and now shares it with others every day as a healer. So a special welcome to Gwen Bernardo here on the Meredith Show. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
It's an honor to have you. And I'd really like to start fresh from the beginning because to me, it is a fascinating story how you fell into what you're doing. So the first thing I think people should know about you is I think you're a badass, and that's because you've always had a love of horses. So talk about that and what led you to your first experience that wasn't so great.
So yes, since I was a little girl, I always wanted to have a horse, and my parents were like, well, if you want to eat 3 meals a day and have a roof over your head, we're not getting you a horse. So it was, sadly. So it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I was actually able to get a horse. But unfortunately, the day before I went to purchase my very first horse, I was put on a very young horse that ran away with me and threw me into a fence, and I wound up with a concussion and 3 broken ribs and a twisted ankle.
Whoa. So stop right there. And you're about to say and I think that would really stop many people in their tracks for their dream of riding horses. But no, instead, what did you do?
Yes, instead I literally got back on the horse and then the next day went to Oklahoma and purchased a horse.
Okay. A little crazy pants, I'm not going to lie, but super courageous and fascinating for me. And that had a lot of heartache as well. So talk us through that first year of owning your own horse and obviously coming out of big injury. Recap those injuries for people who might not have really been able to grasp it. Multiple ribs broken.
Multiple ribs broken, twisted ankle, concussion, split my head open.
Wow.
Really not a great accident and definitely not a great way to start a riding career in your 30s. And then I went to Oklahoma and I found a wonderful horse. And unfortunately, he had a genetic mutation that we didn't know about. And he died a year later. He was a young guy. He started at 7 and he died at 8. So I'd always wanted a horse, always been a horse crazy person. And my very first horse, unfortunately, passed away at a very young age.
And as heartbreaking as that was, it did unlock something special for you, which has really led you to your career today. So you found a fascination with how to help or heal horses at a very early part in your journey with your beloved horse. So tell me a little bit about that.
So at the time, I had a horse that had gotten hurt and I didn't really like my career. And so someone said, well, why don't you go learn how to fix your horse? And so I actually got into the equine physical therapy. And I went back to school and learned the anatomy and learned the kinesiology and the physiology so that I could help horses feel better. So yeah, it turned into a career which was amazing and wonderful and very unexpected.
Speaking of unexpected, I have never heard of MFR, but when you discovered it, tell us, first of all, how you discovered it and what it unlocked with you with your horses.
So MFR stands for myofascial release, and I had needed some continuing education for my equine therapy, and I came across it just as a class and didn't really think very much of it, but took it and was shocked at how gentle it was. It was gentle on me, which was really nice, and it was gentle on the horses. And I really didn't believe it could work, but I was ready for something new in my business. And I started using it on the horses. And within 3 months, the results that I was getting with the horses and the clients and the riders and the trainers was remarkable. And to the point where the riders were saying to me, wow, you fixed Copper's back. Can you fix my back? And I said, I guess muscles are muscles. I can work on you.
Wow.
So that's how that happened.
And then it led you to actually go get trained in myofascial release for humans as well as horses.
Yes.
And horses, like, let's be honest, huge, ginormous creatures.
Yes.
So if this gentle touch is working to heal them, it had to be fascinating to see what would happen with humans. So tell us about your story.
So it was remarkable, like I said, the results that the humans started to get. And then I said to myself, I should really go have this done to me so that I can see what's happening with humans and with horses. And so I went and after my first 6 hours of treatment, was able to release the 19 years of PTSD that I had from that accident that I had spoken about.
You were saying
about the
fascia,
sweater.
Yeah, fascia is something that you absolutely have all over your body.
Yes.
But a good analogy for people to really understand how this therapy works
Yes.
is fascinating to me. And you talked about how a sweater can kind of break down how everything's connected. So talk about that.
Correct. So if you think about a knitted sweater, how it's usually like one piece of yarn, but it creates the whole sweater. Sometimes what will happen is if you're walking along and it gets caught on a handle, it'll pull the sleeve, but then it winds up pulling at the neck. And everybody is so busy treating the symptom of the neck being caught that we forget, yes, you have to loosen up the neck, but it's actually coming from the
Place where it got
sleeve
caught.
being caught.
Yeah.
And so we are trained as myofascial release therapists to treat the symptom and look elsewhere for the cause. So people will come for a shoulder injury or they'll have pain in their hip. But we'll treat the hip, we're going to look at your neck, we're going to look at your pelvis, we're going to look at your ankles. We're going to just make sure that the cause is addressed, not just the symptom.
Okay, here's what I love about MFR, myofascial release. You were generous enough to do some work on me so I could not only hear about it, but experience it. I was fascinated on so many levels because I admitted to you, confession, I store apparently all my stress in my hips, a very common thing for ladies as well as the pelvic area, and a lot of misalignment happens. So you do like what I would call a measurement in the beginning. You really laid me out on a table and one leg was shorter than the other, meaning that there was tightening coming from somewhere. Then you gently, and when I say gently, nothing like a deep tissue massage, applied pressure in certain places. And what was fascinating to me is all of a sudden I felt something in my neck and then I felt it in my throat. And I'm like, you're working on my hip, but this is exactly what you were explaining with a sweater, that everything's connected. So this is, as you explain it, not uncommon. How often do you see people feeling things in different areas when you're working in totally opposite spots?
It's very common. We call it the fascial voice. And this is what makes this individualized healthcare, because everybody is like splatter art, but everybody has a different story. And when we're working with people, their body will tell us where the restriction is. It'll come up hot, hard, or tender, or like in your case, it came up red.
Yes, I turned bright red, you said, on my neck.
You turned bright red.
And you weren't touching it. Like, to me, this is complete evidence that everything is connected.
Correct. And so then we went and we worked on your neck. And as you said, some other things started to come up from other areas. And so that's what we do. We treat the symptom. We look elsewhere for the cause.
So here's what I'll say. I'll admit I had a lot of pain throughout the years in my hips. I have arthritic hips, and I thought that that was hopeless, maybe a bad limiting belief. And I think that's a huge issue that I love. You know, if I could tell you at home, if you're hurting, if things aren't working in your life, don't stop until you figure it out. Like, I just think, why do so many people like me even accept and suffer when you can try new modalities? So I've done a lot of work through the years to kind of get through my stress. I'm Jewish and I admit this. And so like we joke that it's in our DNA, right? But don't make excuses to accept something that isn't serving you. What I could not believe was not only did I leave there with no hip pain, like, I'm like, come on, like this is too good to be true. I expected. And then as I exited, you said, I think this is a general spiel that you give to everybody, don't be surprised if like you could wake up with a very different feeling in the morning. So some examples you gave were explosive diarrhea could happen, like you're releasing, you could have really massive pain. And I'm like, wow, you just scared me. And maybe we shouldn't have done it right before our TV segment. But the truth was, it was the opposite. I woke up yesterday and I'm like, wow, I feel good. Wow, my hip does not hurt as I put my feet on the ground for a while. You worked on me, let's just be honest, people at home, for 60 minutes. And then the entire day, my mood was lifted. Like, I was so happy. I'm like, did I eat something different? I almost couldn't like figure it out. And then I'm like, oh, I had breakfast with friends. And I'm like, everybody, you need to go see Gwen. Your shoulder needs Gwen. Like, you need MFR in your life. And I'm like, what is that? I don't think enough people know about it. And you, my dear, have a superpower, because I mean, it was like kind of like, well, I would liken it to detective work. Like, oh, your hip's hurting, but it goes up to your neck and then your throat. And I'm like, what's going on with my ear? And you just applied gentle pressure And maybe talk about your process. It's kind of like you follow whatever the patient is feeling movement in. I mean, I'd love to know, like, how do you do this? It seems like magic. I'm not going to lie.
So basically, again, all I can say is we treat the symptom, and it is a very gentle body work, but it's a very superior body work because we're actually working with the body. We're taking our time. There's a big time element to this. I think if you remember, I would sink into your tissues, and I stayed there sometimes for 10 or 15 minutes in one place, just allowing your system to open, and it's allowing more blood flow. It's allowing the hydration and the nutrition to come and heal yourself. So thank you for calling me a healer, but I'm not a healer. I'm adjacent. I'm here to assist and allow your body to heal itself.
I think it's beyond fascinating. And I think your rock star status, you're being very humble. You have clipper clients, you have athletes, and you have people who've had serious injury or trauma, and you can work with them for, at times, really short periods. And they are good. And even better, like I said to you, now what? Do I come in for a tune-up? Like, how frequently do I come back? Because I don't want this to end. I don't want my hip to start hurting again. And you say some people are good. You could do as frequently as you said, sessions of 6 hours.
Yes.
And you have a process where you work in tandem with somebody.
Yes.
When does that make sense?
So for anyone who wants to get out of pain sooner than later, I say to my clients, if you want to drop your body off on Thursday and pick it up on Monday, then I have a partner and we work together, and it's a jump start to your healing. And some people, they've had pain for years and years and years, and they begin to get relief, and it's the first relief that they've had in years. And some people, they were just recently in a car accident, and let's get on top of that because fascial restrictions happen over time. So if we can get to an acute injury, you twist your ankle, you sprain your arm, you fall down the stairs. See me now. It's going to be better than if you wait 6 months, a year, 5 years.
So, because some people don't have the instant results that I've felt, but some people do. Talk to us about a few of those cases that were really memorable and rewarding.
So the most rewarding to me actually happened to be a gal who had a bad horseback riding accident. She really jacked up her shoulder, and this happened 8 years ago. And she was never able to get her arm above shoulder length or shoulder height.
They call that frozen shoulder. My
like
girlfriend
this.
had it.
Yeah. And so she'd been to PT and she'd been to a chiropractor. And I told her not to have any expectation because we don't really have expectation. It's what the body is ready. When the body is ready to release it, it will, with assistance. Anyway, so we worked on her shoulder, and after an hour, she was able to lift it all above her head.
Wow.
For the first time in 8 years, which was really exciting. But I said to her, let's see if this happens tomorrow. Like, I'll get excited if the results last. The next day, she was able to raise it. Anyway, the moral of the story is 3 months later, she still is able to raise it entirely above her head.
Unbelievable.
It was a miracle. That happens. I like to say, yes, I like to say if I had a magic wand, I would use it. I don't, but.
But you are a magician to me. I'm sorry. Okay, let's talk about what isn't often addressed before we're clear with our time together is the emotional component. So you said that there's a book. Share the title with people who want to read more about MFR.
The Body Keeps the Score. I'm going to say his name incorrectly. I believe it's Vander Koch. And he wrote this in the 70s about how trauma, emotional, sexual, physical, changes our DNA. And so literally the body will keep the score. It keeps the score of things that your mind may have forgotten. I actually, after getting MFR, remembered a car accident from when I was 8 years old that I had completely forgotten I had been in. And the memory had come up because I was in a position
To release.
to release it.
Yeah.
And I remembered the whole thing. And it was amazing to me that it was something from when I was 8.
Wow. And so the concept is for people who are really considering your help or you as an opportunity, that sometimes we don't even recognize what's holding us back. But if you have had a horrific accident, a terrible trauma in the past, to me, it's like, why wouldn't you try? I try anything to be my best and better self. And I really like to invite that spirit out of others, because what I think we often discount is we are just not a meat suit. We're so much more, right? You talk about fascia being everywhere, but we're also energetic beings. And I know it sounds a little woo, but I'm from the East Coast, so I can call this forward. I really believe we're mind, body, and soul. Like, we're a complete unit. And it's all connected. So my husband, for example, who had a terrible crash and went to physical therapy, didn't have the best results. I need him to see you like yesterday, I've decided, because he's all about, I'm powering through, I'm good, it just hurts, you know? But I'm like, why would you suffer the rest of your life? And also, he has a lot of trauma. For a while, it was terrifying because he was in a horrific car crash to just get in the car. And his son was in the front seat, our son, Noah, and thank God they're somewhat okay, but he's got residual problem in his shoulder and back for years now. And I think we should all give ourselves the gift of Gwen and or myofascial release. So how can people reach out to you? I know you've got a website and it's very easy to book with you through that. Tell us about that.
So my website is performancemfr.com.
Easy to remember.
Yes, because my business is Performance Myofascial Release. And my phone number is area code 415-505-7337. I offer a Pain 911 session, which is an opportunity to ask me questions about MFR, and I promise it is no sales pitch. We're going to just talk about you and if I'm able to help you and how that might come together. Just really quickly about trauma that you don't even know you have. When I received my first 6 hours of MFR, I came home on a Sunday, and on Thursday, my husband said to me, God, you're bitching at me, Les. And I went, I didn't know I bitched at you. And he went, I didn't know you bitched at me either, but now that you're not, it's quite remarkable.
Oh my goodness.
And so that goes to why I do this work, which is I believe everyone deserves to feel great. And I think if everyone felt better, we'd be nicer to each other.
Amen. I have an inner witch bitch. And I'm sure my husband would appreciate working on that. And I own it. Like, I'm always working on being better. But I think too often we think we can snap our fingers, and it's not the case. We've got to do some level of work. And if we can't do it, we need to get professional help from time to time, right? Which is lovely. So as we close out, what do you find most rewarding about this work? Because you heal, I know you don't like to call yourself a healer, but you can heal people on so many levels.
What do I find the most rewarding? I love the transformation and I love the possible. And for me, the biggest gift that I think I offer, my superpower, is hope. Because I really believe that most of the restrictions in our lives and problems that we have are fascial restrictions, because that's what I work with. That's how I can help.
And you see it all the time. I have to say, another miracle, what I think is magical, I asked you about scheduling in, and you're like, maybe next month, because you got 6 clients last week?
I did. I was very lucky.
I mean, that doesn't happen every day. Again, it's just a testament, I think, to you being genuine. I think there are sadly not always so many great people out there who are looking to heal you with what I call woo. And there are good people and bad people in every profession, but you are not only the real deal, you warm my heart. And I'm telling you, I'm coming back for whatever you call it, a zhuzh, a monthly checkup, check-in, a tune-up, I'll call it that.
A tune-up. Yeah.
A tune-up sounds really good for me. And I encourage you, of course, to get in touch with Gwen. You can also message me at meredith@themeredithshow.com. I'm always willing to share and connect you with my amazing guests who have stories of courage. And I believe Gwen Bernardo was born not just to heal, but to shine through her courage. So thank you for sharing your story, Gwen.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for watching. And if you like this episode and you catch us off of television, or you'd like to have more inspiration in your life, be sure to subscribe to the Meredith Show YouTube channel. Thanks so much for watching. And I know you know somebody out there who absolutely has an amazing story. Don't be selfish and don't keep it to yourself. Reach out. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much. Keep shining.